Actually, to begin with, just this thing, because I was told to speak for about 20 minutes. To squeeze 20 minutes to 8 minutes will be really very quite disaster.
The 8 minutes are for other presenters. For you, we still have 20 minutes.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you for the opportunity for preparing this one, sustainable water management for agriculture in India. We all know that freshwater scarcity is a global systemic risk. By 2030, throughout the world, there will be a water supply demand gap of about 40%. With every 1 degree centigrade rise in the climate, about 20% deficit for the poor people will have, about 7% of the population. Water challenge is urgent for about 2.2 billion people, and improving water productivity shall play a pivotal role for this one. Coming back to our own country, India is really rushing headlong into a water crisis. These two maps, which are famous map by the partner institute WRI, we show that India faces both the spatial water scarcity and the temporal water scarcity as well. We say that within a year and continuously moving over the years, and then if you take the some deficit between supply and demand, it's increasing every year, and it's, you can say, temporally also we have periods of very high rainfall and we have periods of very small rainfall, or you can say no rainfall at all. Coming to what's the real status of irrigation in India, we see that we started with a very beautiful canal-based irrigation in India, which with a good CAGR at that time, but over the time it has really come back quite a bit. Now India is dominantly irrigated by groundwater, and if you see the CAGR for groundwater is about 2.9%, and overall it's our progress over the years, it has become either steady or it is declining. Whatever increase is happening mainly through groundwater based systems. Even if we take the global context, the hockey stick like curve which you see at the top, about 235 or more than 270 BCM of water, groundwater, only India is exploiting every year, which if we take several other countries together, the next 2 or 3 countries together, they will not be exploiting as much groundwater as India alone is exploiting, you can say, at the top, what we can see. And this is manifested in really the depletion of groundwater in the several states of the country. If we say Punjab, I have given both between the last 2 decades, between 2000 and 2019, there has been a decline of about 9 meters of groundwater fall in Punjab. Similarly, in Delhi, about 7.7 meter water table decline. In Haryana, and all the other states, what you could say. And then the annual groundwater fall is about 46 centimeters. That's one big manifestation. Other big manifestation comes in the form of degradation of water resources, which we see in our, can say, pollution of rivers or other kind of things. So these are the two major things what we see over here. So there are several reasons for this thing. India is one of the main reasons that India is producing more cereals than it actually needs, and also it is the biggest exporter of water. When we say exporter of water, water not as in the form of Bisleri bottles, water in the form of food and sugar. You can say both export of rice and other crop commodities, and export of meat and export of sugarcane. Annually, we are exporting 95.4 billion cubic meter of water out of the country, even from water scarcity. The productivity of water in agriculture is the lowest as compared to all the other sectors. The most important part is that our theaters of production and procurement, the northwestern part of India, there is a serious mismatch with the regional agro-hydrological endowments. That's the biggest challenge, that we are producing more food or most of our surplus food from the regions which are hydrologically unsustainable, which have, can say, very serious water threats and other things. That's a very mismatch, where is serious dilemma which we also present. There are several factors for it, but free water plus free energy is a sure recipe for inefficiency and overexploitation, which we can say, but there are several other factors as well. So for sustainable water management, improving water productivity is pivotal to create sustainable benefits for agriculture, increase crop production and incomes in water scarce regions, especially rain-fed areas, improve water supplies for domestic, industrial, and other needs, and to reduce tension and conflicts, which we say every year in large parts of the country, and improve environmental flows, climate resilience, and energy footprints. Because the elephant in the room is, again, you can say it's agriculture. Agriculture still uses about 80 to 90% different sources point of that. We can improve productivity in industry, we can improve productivity in domestic use, we can improve productivity in other sector, but there the margin will be very small because industry is using only about 7 to 8%, domestic is also again using about 6 to 7 or 7 to 8%, but most of the water is still consumed. If we improve productivity in agriculture, then definitely we can say thing. Now most of you will be knowing what is water productivity, but just in one slide if we want to show that productivity is just output divided by the input. So output per unit of water use is called water productivity. It can be 1 kg or $1 per cubic meter of water. And what can be different ways of improving water, as I see in the first one, either by using same water we improve the output, so it can be 2 kg per cubic meter of water, or we can reduce the amount of water, half amount of water, and same produce, again it will become 2 kg per cubic meter, or we can increase the value of the produce. Instead of producing just cereals, we produce vegetables, fruits, and all other kind of things. So again it will become $2 per cubic meter or more dollars per cubic meter. There are kind of differences. On a just a little theoretical curve or concept, what to say, that if we see the production and cost and the water use over there, we see starting from the very rain-fed areas to the flooded areas. The first thing is that if we increase supplemental irrigation in rain-fed areas, we will have very high productivity, improve water productivity. Second thing is, once we give some kind of irrigation, if we increase the shift, the production frontier and move beyond the water sector, because that's what has happened during the evolution. Water was one factor, but fertilizer, seeds, all other kind of things, if we shift the production frontier, then there will be again improvement productivity. When we give more water, then there is a need to deficit irrigation that we should stop when we have much more irrigation than what is required. And last, you can say in flooded areas, other thing, we must stop irrigation because then we don't need to this. So where you are located, in which region you are located, what is your production system, all these factors will decide, you can say, how you move along the curve, starting from zero rain-fed to the point O to point D, from deficit to other kind of irrigation. So innovations to improve water productivity, I shall discuss just 4 issues and 4 options for this thing. First issue is that there is a shrinking freshwater availability and there is a rising demand for irrigation. There is a growing gap between the irrigation potential which the country has created and which is actually utilized. At the same time, there is a rising capital cost for irrigation. If we see, can say in states like Maharashtra, the cost can be even as high as 20 lakh rupees for creating 1 hectare of irrigation. Even at a national level, it's around 4 lakhs or something during this period. But you can say that still the costs are increasing. One thing is very difficult to increase the cost of special. This is for surface irrigation, and that's why I want to qualify this thing. What can be the different options to bridge this gap? One thing which in Gujarat and Punjab they have tried it, that instead of open channels, if we go for underground pipeline systems, the benefits can be huge. And this canal-based micro-irrigation systems, so this is from Sardar Sarovar Narmada Nigam Limited Gujarat experiments, you can say, which has been done on a very large area. And the benefits, you can say, I shall not read them, but definitely the cost has been incurred, but the length completed and all these, the benefits are huge and it's expanding. Similarly, in Punjab also, can say they have done in certain areas where there are sandy soils. Another thing in Haryana, they are also doing it. So this is one area where instead of conveying water in open channels, if we convert it into underground pipeline systems, the most of the losses, they are reduced, the efficiency is improved, and everything that can be done. That's one. This is examples, and overall savings, etc. You can note on. Another second thing which I have, again, you can say I've shared from our recent publication which we did with ICRIAR and NABARD together, that our theaters of production and availability, regional availability of water, there is a quite serious mismatch between the two. I have given example just for sugarcane and rice. If we say rice, overall, where we have in Punjab the highest amount of productivity of 4 tons per hectare, but if we say the irrigation water productivity, that's almost the lowest one over thing. But if the same amount of water, some amount of water is made available in those states where water is not available, the applied irrigation water productivity for Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Bihar, Assam, Odisha, UP, AP, it's much more. The value of water, the irrigation water productivity, what we call it, is much higher in those states where the amount of irrigation water required is much less, but the irrigation water productivity in Punjab, Haryana, etc., because this 1 unit of water which they will produce in water productivity is much less, and that's why they consume much higher amount of water as such. The second issue is over-exploitation of groundwater, which I have already told about you. Again, coming to the same state, that annual cost of groundwater extraction, which is using electric pump set, again we see why it is happening in Punjab, because if you see the cost of water in Punjab is lowest in the country. It's just $0.38 per cubic meter of 0.38 rupees per cubic meter water, but in other states you can say much higher, which leads to over-exploitation of groundwater. Same thing you can see that the productivity, etc., they are quite different, and the irrigation water productivity compared to water stress in Punjab, Haryana is much higher. In other states, we need to spend much more money in expanding. We should create a match between the theaters of production and the regional endowment of water. This is, you can say, again, explaining the same thing. You can say Punjab, it consumes about 6,000 liters of water to produce 1 kg of rice, where in Bihar, you can say, just it needs about 178. So if we give only very small amounts of critical amounts of irrigation, you can have that much higher productivity. Some of the other innovative interventions can be, conservation tillage, zero tillage, laser land leveling, crop residue incorporation, mulching instead of burning the crop residues. And I shall just spend a half a minute on direct seeded rice. This is a kind of new technology which is coming quite a bit, that instead of transplanted rice, if we can go for direct seeded rice, for which government is also providing subsidy, the technology is available, several other private players there have also joined in. That can create a huge benefit. We can produce same amount of rice with much less amount of water and using much less amount of acid. And then you can say there are other like the permanent raised beds. Jains and some others can say they have also started thinking of drip irrigated rice. You can say there are some examples they have done quite a bit. My colleague Yogesh will spend more light on this thing, so I shall not comment. Just one slide, that average impact of micro irrigation adoption in 13 states of India, can say the benefits are huge, and this is another innovation which is spreading, but it can spread much higher. Solar powered irrigation system, they are also quite useful wherever you can say used in, especially in the rain-fed areas and other kind of things. The third issue is about the irrigation insecurity, uncertainty in the rain-fed and mountainous areas. I shall just cite to consider one example, that all our watershed development programs and all consider rain-fed areas, they can create a benefit so much. I shall give this one example from Gujarat, South Gujarat. This is the only few bright examples in India where you can say where large amount of this watershed programs were done, and you can see that there is a rise in water table, and you can say overall within this 2008 example, somehow map I have old one, but if you see the recent one, the condition has even further improved in that particular area. One can say the best thing in rain-fed areas, what we can do is that the tanks and ponds are the brilliant structures to hold rainwater, and during dry months, that's the only possibility over there. But if you see that the tank irrigation at that one point of time, which was about 17 or 18% contribution to the overall irrigation. Now it has come down to 2.5 or 2. There is degradation, encroachment, and all kind of things, and that's why rainfed systems have become more vulnerable, and there is can say serious issues in that one, which we need to correct on that one. But there are some good examples. This is one example which we did in Rampur, but there are several NGOs and other kind of, we have colleagues from Basics and other concepts. So they are doing this, that if a village tank, which is now also are becoming a refuge for wastewater in the country, if they are improved, they can recharge groundwater, they can save water and follow all the other things. Similarly, in the Himalayan region, the multiple use water systems where water from springs and other things, they can be stored and they can be used. These are some examples from our northeastern states where we did this work on both integrated farming system and the multiple use water system for both livestock, horticulture, agriculture, and everything. Similarly, the integrated farming system with water pond, fisheries, crops, horticulture, if these are all integrated together in flood-prone areas, they can really convert those kind of, these are some of the good innovations over there. The last issue which I shall talk about is about the degradation of water quality in the Indian rivers, streams, and aquifers. That's the one thing that most of our rivers, they have become polluted. They are being desiccated. There is, in several months of the year, there is hardly any amount of water. Those living in NCR region, they know the condition of Yamuna, they know the condition of several other. Most of our rivers, you can say, they have really degraded. And at this time, more than about 53% of the Indian rivers, they are in a degraded condition. And if we are not able to do something of that, in spite of NMCG and other kind of work, you can say this particular example is from Fafamau in near Kanpur, where Ganges is being, you can say, wastewater is being disgorged. One good example can be that the cities, they can become a source of vibrant peri-urban agriculture, because our cities, they produce, create increasing volumes of wastewater as cities demand more water, because cities do not consume water. What they do, they really actually degrade the quality of water. So about, if you supply to a city 100 megaliter or any amount of water, it will be giving back 95 megaliter of water, you can say. That's only 5 liter will be actually consumed. The rest of all, you can say, either through our flushes, through our kitchens, through our everything, you can say, bathrooms, we are giving it back, but giving it in a very poor quality and very degraded quality, etc. So that water is available, and more and more larger and larger cities, you can say, they have a larger peri-urban areas. Just giving you again the example of city, Delhi itself, the proper Delhi itself, its area is only 42.7 kilometers square. But if you say the NCR, the entire thing, the area is about 1,484 kilometers square. So that's larger areas of it, which is a peri-urban agriculture, which serves the entire city as such and can say. So with larger amount of water, and if we assume about 50% use of wastewater for irrigation, the Indian cities, we did a calculation, can irrigate about 1.4 lakh hectare, improve health of the people and rivers and the ecosystem. Definitely there need to be certain things out of that. This is that particular example I calculated for 11 cities, and you can say this is the amount of wastewater and potential of irrigable water with wastewater from each of the cities, how that can be done. That's another model which we suggested, and MCG has can say accepted that one, that along the rivers, if we have a 5-kilometer corridor on both sides of the river, which can be used, you can say, first as a trench to trap all the pollution, next can be horticulture and other crops and everything, and then you can say third, the river bed is used for growing vegetables and other kinds of things. So if we take this, the river will remain clean, but at the same time, about 10 kilometers, you can say this natural farming corridor model along the major rivers, if it is contributed, the government has also given this funds for this thing. So these are the 4 zone of pollutant trap, zone of economic importance, a zone of riverbed agriculture. This is done along the river, along the, can say, that can serve as a real good model for this thing. All these examples or suggestions are good, quite a bit, you can say, but there are very large, there are constraints in customization adoption. One thing is that the very large number of small and marginal holdings, unclear titles, low productivity of agriculture, little incentive to save water, perverse water and energy subsidies, limited public investment, size of subsidy, and there's a nascent private sector. In all the sectors you have private players, but in the water sector, especially agricultural water sector, there are hardly, you can say, any private players, you can say, except for the metro irrigation thing. I shall just complete it with the one last slide, that we need to decouple our growth from increased water use. At the beginning, we had just this kind of thing. We come to the second stage where you can say through trade and everything, we have moved from this kind. And now it's that the second stage of decoupling, it requires where both social, economics, environmental, agriculture, all these factors, otherwise our water demands will continue to increase in spite of all of our efforts. We need to put all the strategies where we decouple our growth from increased water use. Thank you very much.